Let's Count to 10, an easier way to generate accurate quality takeoffs. This webinar is brought to you by Graitec. My name is Missy Scott, and I am pleased to be your moderator today. As a reminder, you can always find a schedule of upcoming events, webinars, and training on our calendar at asti.com/calendar. All right, before we dive in, I'd love to learn more about how we can best support you and your business. So if you could take just a short moment to answer the poll question on the right-hand side of your screen, it would help us learn how we can best serve you. All right, I'd also like to invite you to take advantage of our free trial of Bluebeam and check out our custom training classes. You can even get one-on-one training with the Rick Kramer himself. So you can scan those QR codes, but don't worry, I'm going to throw them in the chat as well and put them on the screen at the end during the Q&A. All right. The one and only Rick Kramer. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rick. You know you are the master of Bluebeam everything, an AEC influencer, a certified Bluebeam expert, the man of the hour, the funniest guy that I know that I work with. So thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, because me and you like to have fun and we can't behave when we get together, we have a question. No, it's just not fun that way. So.
And just real quick, for those of you just joining, you might see me dancing above Misty over here. I try my hardest to make her crack, and she's uncrackable. One of these days, I'm going to do something that's totally going to throw off her game during one of our webinars. But Misty, thank you so much. And everyone joining us, thank you so much for joining. And go back a slide. Do me a favor before we get to that trivia. Go back a slide. All right. So I got to tell you something, Misty, and I meant to send this to you earlier. And for those of you for the next webinar, you're going to see that picture change drastically. So, a lot of people are in this like weight loss program and they want to look good and they want to look like what they looked like, younger. So here's the profile picture I'm going for. You ready? Little Ricky, right there. That is it, baby. So this is going to be my profile picture for work.
I love it. I mean, you kind of look scared, but
a little bit scared. And so this is going to be my ideal weight. It was about 45 to 50 pounds, maybe wet. I don't know. But I'm telling you, that's it. That's what we're going for, folks. Just like having fun.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And you know what? I could see the resemblance. So
yeah. So wait a minute. Let me have that scared look.
Yeah. There it is.
That worked. All right. Back to you in the studio, and then we'll get into estimating.
Well, I have a surprise for you as well because we had this conversation, but I'm not going to reveal it until after this trivia question. So
what is?
Yes, but I've got things to work your brain today, all right? So what is the only number spelled with its letters in alphabetical order?
Numbers?
Yes, the letters spelling it are in alphabetical order.
Wow.
If you guys know, I know it's kind of a brain teaser, isn't it? Right? Oh, look at people, they're guessing it.
No, because I'm thinking like one, right? O, and then N. E, no, that doesn't work. T, oh, you.
We've got a smarty pants.
Did someone get it already?
Yes. I have to say, Holly got it.
Hats off to you, Holly. Let's see.
Pro. It's the number 8. 8. EIGHT.
Holly, my hat is off to Holly. Oh, wow.
That is a good one. Good job, Holly, because I had to chat GPT that, so I did not know that. All right, and before we start the Bluebeam stuff, my fun surprise for you, Rick, and this just shows that great minds think alike, and for everyone joining, this is Little Misty.
No, look at that.
So it's a little grainy, it's a little fuzzy, but yeah, that's my personality. Even all the way back then, I wanted to find the highest anything and just, be a really wild person, and I still am. So
I can only imagine your parents going, "Get down from there! You are going to kill yourself, young lady. You're gonna break your neck." Oh. That's awesome.
It's
So you know
always
what? I think we should have a way for our everyone, our attendees, to be able to post their submit their baby pictures or young photo pictures.
that is
Maybe
a
we'll
great
do a.
idea.
I think we should do a contest.
Ooh, I'm thinking that's fun. I like
All
that.
right.
So we're gonna work on that idea. And before everyone's like, Misty and Rick, we are done with this the funny business. Let's talk
Just
about Bluebeam. I'm gonna turn it over to you, Rick.
all right. Thanks so much. All right, go ahead, bring me up front, up stage. Let me know when you see my screen. I'm going to get right to it, folks, because the fun is done. All right, it's never done. Misty, do you see my screen? Hopefully,
I
you're
gotcha.
seeing. All right, awesome. Thanks, everyone. Let me get right to it. What this webinar is all about is how to take better estimates using Bluebeam Revu. So let me do a quick overview. In Bluebeam Revu, we can take regular, ordinary PDFs and start to take different type of measurements. That includes linear measurements, area calculations, volumes, and counts, all of which can be done on an ordinary PDF, which means we don't have to go back to AutoCAD or Revit. If you only have a PDF, this gives us an opportunity to take a PDF drawing and be able to work on it. So before we get started, housekeeping, right? We're going to work on a set of drawings, and I want to show you all the steps that I go through to ensure that my drawing outline, my drawing estimates are going to be a success. So first things first, we're going to go over here to review. We're going to go over here to preferences. The reason why is under the general tab, we're going to change the name, the user. So if you don't know already, Bluebeam, as you create your markups, is going to keep a list, a grocery list per se, in the markups list of everything that you do. You want your name associated with it. Bluebeam Revu, when it installs, pulls the username from your computer name. So you're going to say, so what, Rick? Who cares if it says computer, FL, whatever? The whole idea is that as you start to create your markups, the markups being, in this case, all measurements, or maybe they're red lines, if I share this with someone, they have that opportunity to go through and find out who created that markup. So there's accountability and questions that can be then further asked. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my name and the name of the company that I work for. That way, when I exchange this with anyone using Bluebeam or Adobe products like Adobe Acrobat Reader, they will see that that markup came from me. Second, over here under the interface markups list, you want to go through and change zoom fit markups when selected. This is just general 101 settings that I like to do. And what this means is as you click on a markup in the markups list, it'll automatically zoom to the markup on that sheet. With this checked off, the way out of the box like this, it just goes to the sheet itself. And it's hard to find, well, where in the heck is that particular markup? With this selected, it goes right to that markup. That's it, folks, just two things. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Next, to create a drawing set for success, I've opened up the thumbnails view, and over here, I'm going to make sure to label all of my pages. Right now, by default, they're just labeled 1 through 7. I'm going to go over here and create smart page labels. I'm going to go over here and not talk about how this is done, but basically creating smart page labels. And that's a whole nother webinar. But over here, I'm scanning the document and applying that to all pages. And there they are. And then if I have a large set of drawings, this is only 7 pages, I'm going to go over here to my bookmarks. In bookmarks, what I'm going to do is create my bookmarks based on the page labels. Imagine if you have 500-page document, now I can easily start to go through and click on any of these pages to go exactly to that page. Again, this is so that you can work on a set of documents easier in Bluebeam Revu, right? Our document is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Why? It's a computer application. At any point in time, it could stop working, it could freeze. Save, Control S. All right, next step. Over here, I'm going to go over here to this particular drawing, and let's talk about what we are going to do. We're going to go through and take measurements. What are the different type of measurements and estimates that we can do? Here under the tools, we're going to take a look at everything here under measure. You'll notice up at the very top it says set scale. Why is this important, you might ask? Well, if we're going through and calculating square footages, it's important to know what the scale is of that particular drawing. Now, in this particular case, I want you to notice right off the bat, we're looking at two different things, a floor plan and elevation. If we take a look at the elevation is set to 1/2 inch. We're going to test to see if this is truly printed out correctly at 1/2 inch if we are taking measurements. This one over here is an enlarged plan, which is what? Not to scale. All right, so this one has no particular scale, but if I wanted to go through and find out the area of these floors, how could I possibly do that if it says not to scale? Or maybe I don't know the scale. So let's see how we can go through and set the scale of this drawing. Now, let's just say, for argument's sake, we're looking at this one right here. We're like, all right, I've done this before. Typically, I'll go over here at the very bottom and I'll set the scale. It says 1/2 inch equals a foot. I'll go over here and say, let's go to preset and change this to 1/2 inch. This is the easy way. I'm going to go ahead and select 1/2 inch equals a foot, right? That's what this says. And precision, I'll just round it to 1/2 inch. I'll even round it to a full inch and click apply scale. So what do I do before starting to take measurements? Check to make sure that it is accurate. So over here, this should be 9'6". So I'll go to tools, measure, length, just to run a dimension check before I start to do area calculations. I'll click length and I'll go from here straight down. And if I take a look at this, what? That's 14'3". So my measurements will be completely off because this is not printed out at 1/2 inch. So what do? Basically, we're going to go through. I'm going to leave this because you're going to see how this dynamically changes. We're going to calibrate the drawing according to a custom measurement. And matter of fact, anytime that I go through and I scale drawings, I got to tell you, I never trust that the drawing was printed to scale. And this is a point in case. This was perfectly printed, but zoomed to fit or something. It's not true 1/2 inch equals a foot. So what do? We're going to create viewports. Now, typically, if there's only one drawing, like let's say this one right here, we can just go through and set the scale over here, or by going to tools, measure, and set the scale for the overall drawing. But what if you have multiple drawings on a drawing, right? Multiple viewports, basically, at different scales. Here, over here, under measurements, what we're going to do is we're going to create additional viewports. Just like in AutoCAD, we're making views so you can see through the paper space. We're going to do the same thing over here. Over here, we're going to create multiple viewports, one from the top, one for the bottom. I'm going to click Add a Viewport and select a region to create and define that viewport. I'll click OK, and I'm going to window around the top one. Now, this particular one over here, out of the box, it says not to scale. So never ever do I go through and create a preset and assume that it's done correctly. I'm going to go through and select custom and click calibrate. What this does, it gives me an opportunity to pick 2 points of a dimensioned area or a known dimension like a doorway. So I can say this area is this particular scale. So I'm going to click calibrate. That's what this dialog box here tells me. It says pick 2 points of a known dimension. I gotcha. I'll hit OK. Now I'm going to zoom in. Luckily, it's already dimensioned over here in this grid line. It's 30 feet from here to here. If I didn't have that, I know most of my doors are 3-foot openings, so I could use that. So I'm going to select this, go all the way across. I'm going to hold shift. Pro tip, hold shift, and now you go in ortho mode, so it's all the way straight across. Here, I'm going to put in that input of 30 feet. If it was 30 feet and 3 inches, you type in 30 feet, 3 inch, whatever it is, right? So this is just a straight 30 feet. What do I want it to round to? I'm fine with rounding to a full inch and hit apply. So this is this one. So over here, I'm going to click on it again and rename this an enlarged plan, right? So that's called enlarged plan. And you can kind of see the viewport that's created. We're going to do the same thing for the elevation. I'll click plus, select a region, and select that. Here I can label it ahead of time, and I'm going to call this elevation. Select custom, click calibrate, and pick 2 points. Again, over here, I have a dimension of 9'6", so I'm going to click from here. Again, hold shift and go straight down and say it is 9'6", precision 1 inch. Okay, and I hit apply. Do you see what happened? My dimension automatically adjusted because the scale is now correct. Awesome. So now this is set to scale with 2 different viewports. I can go ahead and minimize this. So what kind of things can we do over here? If I want to start to go through and take an area calculation, I'll go to Tools, Measure, and do an area. I'll simply come over here and start to click, 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 and click. And there it is, 198 square feet. By the way, you'll notice that the text box is not ideal where it should be placed. So what I'm going to do is hover over it, hold shift, and just drag it in place. There it is. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to go through and give unique properties to this object, because when it's placed like that, if I look at my markups list, you'll notice that it is just called area measurement. So what am I going to do? I'm going to select it, right click, and go to its properties. The reason why is I'm going to go through and start to create different custom things that I'm counting. In this case, how much area of paint or carpet that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to the subject and put paint 01, and the label is going to be PT01. And I want it to have a fill color over here of yellow and make it highlightable so I can see through it. Awesome. I even might go through and give it a little bit of a line over here so I can start to see that it's gone through and created it, right? So over here, boom, right? So now I can see that that's there. Anytime I create paint 01, I want to be able to use this over and over again. So here it is. What do? I right click and add to my tool chest. And I have a tool set that's already been created. To use this over and over again, all I have to do is double click on it to change it into drawing mode. So I can use it over and over again. So if I want to go through and use this area to now paint, I select paint, and I'll go over here and click on this area. Let's try that again, paint, and I'm going to go from here to here to here to here, and done. You'll notice, by the way, there's a little curved area. No problem, I got this. I'm going to select the diagonal, right click right here in the middle, and convert to arc. Select that, right click, convert to arc. So as you can see, here's my paint. If I go down into my markups list, here's my total amount of paint, 365 square feet of paint. Really cool. All right, let's go on. Let's take a look at this area over here and do the same thing. And let's say this area here also is paint. But you'll notice that there's also glazing. I want to find out how much paint it's going to be required to paint this area on paint number 2, or let's just say it's paint 1. What I'm going to do is enable something called dynamic fill. Dynamic fill is a unique ability to go through and fill right here with a paint bucket, all right? Just like Nickelodeon style. I'm going to come over here and click dynamic fill and then use my paint bucket. I'm simply going to go over here and start to highlight this information. Boom. And fill it in. You'll notice it stops here because it sees that as a line. And I'm going to keep going, and right there is all my paint, and I'm going to tell it this is supposed to be paint 01. Apply and close. There it is. 121 square feet, but you're like, wait a minute, Rick, if I'm going through and painting all of this area, there is cabinet work, and over here is glazing, so I don't need to spend all that money on paint. what I can do is reduce from that and remove those areas by going to Tools, Measure, Cutout. And what I'm going to do is simply window around the area that is cut out, and you'll notice my square footage changes like that. And now I only have 49 square feet of paint. That is a huge difference when it comes to the amount of paint that I require. Think of it if you were doing wood paneling, right? That is going to be a huge cost difference between 49 and what it was originally, almost twice that. So that is how we can start to do areas. Let's take a look at some other examples of areas. In this particular drawing, I've gone through and created a bunch of different areas of finishes for all the different floors. One of the things that I encounter a lot is our customers are saying, well, we are not giving this to someone who's utilizing Bluebeam. And in Bluebeam, we can simply come over here and see what the square footage is. We can also export all of that information to Excel, but let's say this is a piece of paper that ultimately at the end of the day, we want to submit to someone. I'm going to create a smart legend. You ready? All I'm going to do is inside of this view, right click and window around all my areas, selecting them all, and then I'm going to hover over any of them and right click. Right clicking in Bluebeam gives us additional options, one of which is to create a smart legend. You're similar to like Revit. Over here, I'm going to find legend and I'm going to click create new legend. And I'm simply going to click to place it and make it big. Now, this is generic, right? So let's go through and customize it to see what are all of those different floorings. I'm going to select it, right click, go to its properties. Let's move this over. The first thing that I'm going to do is define the description. Generically, out of the box, it's going to go by subject. In this case, I'm going to go over here and do label. When I apply it as a label, each one of these have a unique label. So now I can see how much carpet I have of 1, 2, 3, and hardwood. And this is live information. I want you to notice over here, carpet 1823. That's this one right here. Let's say for argument's sake, I went through and copied this, right? So I'm going to hold Control and copy this over here and just quickly just adjust this like that and like this. Boom. Now I have some more carpet, whatever it is. It automatically adjusts. Isn't that awesome? The information in this legend is smart and it applies to this particular sheet. We can also kind of go through, make it little, bump it out a little. Maybe we can give it a fill color of this light gray. Nah, I'm going to keep it white or just transparent. Awesome. Isn't that cool? So this legend, by the way, is again dynamic. This can be used as a legend on any drawing. Next, let's start to take a look at different things that we can start to do. In this case, we looked at creating areas, but what if you say, Rick, we need to count objects? Over here, I'm going to count what I call widgets, anything that you want to count. So let's say we're counting PNID or electrical outlets or anything of that matter. And in this case, I want to go through and count how many duplexes I have. I could go through manually, go to Tools, Measure, and click on Count. And some people have used this before and they go, okay, I got one here, I got one here, I got one here, I got one here. This could take a long time. So instead, we're going to go through and do this smart. We're going to do this in a smart way. I was going to say smartly. Is that a real word? Let's go for it. Over here on the right-hand side in the tool palettes, I'm going to go to the search bar, and I have two different types of search. One's a text search, and one is a visual search. Visual is what I'm looking for because I'm going to visually look for all of these duplexes. I'm going to click on Get Rectangle, and I'm going to window around one of those outlets. Perfect. Over here, which pages do I want this to scan? In this case, I only want to do the current page. Over here, I'm going to reduce its sensitivity, which means it's going to get more than I need. And basically anything that might be covered or close to another outlet or anything like that, I want to be able to get. So I always go through and reduce my sensitivity and then ready, just click search. On the bottom over here, it's going through and scanning those drawings. And how many do I have? 162. I did that in a matter of seconds. Over here, I'll simply go over here. I can preview all of the outlets. You can see that it picked all of my outlets. Now, you'll notice I'm going to select them all, but some of the outlets, because I reduced the sensitivity, it found some of these duplexes that were actually GFI. So I'm going to uncheck that and uncheck that one right there because I don't want to get the duplex or the quads. I just want to get the duplexes. So I'm going to quickly just start to go through and scan this to make sure that I don't get the ones that I cast a net that was really, really big. And over here, I'm just scanning these kind of quickly. All right. So if I had changed the sensitivity so that it wasn't as sensitive, I might not have to go through this exercise here to deselect some of these. And you can see doesn't take that long. But again, it does require a little bit of human interaction. I hope you all are enjoying this because I got to tell you, I love Bluebeam. It is just the coolest thing. All right, let's just say for argument's sake, we got them all. And I'm going to go through, and that's it. So now what do? I've pre-selected them all. What do is I'm going to apply a count, and out of the box are built-in outlines or symbols, and I'm going to go through and place something like this check mark. When I select it over here, it's going to tell me how many I have, but remember, it's generic. It says 148. So what do? I simply double click in there and call this a duplex. Now I know that this is going to be labeled correctly as 148 duplexes. And if we go all the way out, I can see them. And just like before, I can window around all of them, right click, and create another legend. And there's 148 duplexes. As I start to go through and add the TVs and the smoke detectors and anything else, the data outlets, this will start to grow this legend. It's that simple. All right, let's go through another little quick exercise over here. Let's go to yet a different page. And here, instead of looking for objects, I'm going to look for something and I need to count objects. In this case, let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, how many RF1 type of light fixtures I have, right? So I could do a graphic search, but because this has a label next to it, a text, I'm going to prefer to use a text-based search. So same thing like this L2 versus the supply and return vents. If I'm doing a supply return vent, I'm going to look for graphic. If I'm looking for objects that have text, I'm going to search by text because it's going to be spot on. So how do I do that? I'm going to go over here to the search. Just like before, this time I'm going to enable a text search and go over here and type in RF1, RF-1. You want to make sure to type it in exactly how it is. Let's go ahead and clear our search results from our last search. Go back over here, RF1, current page, ready, 1, 2, 3, go. Did you see how fast that was? Oh my gosh. So imagine if you had 10 pages. It could go through all 10 of those pages, as many drawings as you want, and label and count these. So in this case, I'm going to do the same thing. I don't have to go through and browse because when I do a text search, it is or it's not RF1. So it's mostly 100% spot on. I'm going to go over here and select them all and apply a count just like I did before. And this time switch it up and do, let's say, a box, right? Awesome. Let's go ahead and delete that. While this is selected, how many do I have? Drum roll, 104. I'm going to double click over here and those were called RF1s. But there's something kind of going on, right? If we take a look at this, they're boxes. I can't see what's underneath. So what do is I select it, go to my properties, and over here, I'll change its appearance. I'll change its color over here, let's say to blue. Still can't see it. So what do is I lower its opacity. Sweet spot, quite frankly, is somewhere between 40 and 60%, and I typically up the scale a little bit so it's easy to find. That's it. And if I want to use this over and over again on my next takeoff, I'll right click on it, add to my tool chest, count to 10 tools, and here it is, RF1, so I can use this over and over again. Awesome. All right. We are just chugging through this. We are just not chugging, we're going fast. This is great. All right, let's go through real quick and take a look at another example. So in this case, we're looking at linear calculations. So we did area, right? How much area that we need for any type of material. We did counting widgets. We can count them manually or automatically search using visual or text-based. Next is linear. What kind of things can we do with linear calculations? Well, imagine you're doing piping or conduit or ductwork, and you need to calculate the total length of a run. In this case, let's say I'm trying to calculate how much hot water I have. One of the things that I really like to do is there's a lot of information here, and I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to have Bluebeam help me search for all my hot water and identify it. So over here, I'm going to do a combination of two things. I'm going to use search and search for everything that says hot water. I'm going to go ahead and click search, select, and highlight them. When I do that, this will now give me an opportunity to easily identify where these are. And again, since it's yellow, it might be hard to see. So I'm going to go over here and change it over here to red. Now I had done this once before. Oh, let me go over here. I'd select one. Hold on. Hold everything. Since it's not a group, I'm going to select them all over here, select them all, and change them to red. Awesome. Something else that I can do. So why do I do this? So I can easily go through and find them, so I can now find out what my linear length is. So what do I do first is I'm going to go through and calibrate this drawing just like I did before. 30 feet over here, calibrate, known dimension from here. Whoops, let's try that again. Calibrate from here to here, 30 feet, done. Now, when you save this calibration, it saves it to the PDF, so you don't have to do this over and over again. You can do this once, set it, and forget it. Now, in order for me to easily see this, I'm going to go over here and enable dark mode. In dark mode, this converts the drawing visually. So when we're looking at a set of drawings on our high displays, LED displays, it's easy to see and it's easy on the eye. Now I can easily identify where are my hot water lines, right? And I'm ultimately going to then go through and trace this. So how do I do a linear calculation? First, I'm going to go over here and place a sample so that I could use it over and over again and store it in my tool sets. Okay, so how do we do that? I'm going to go to Tools, Measure, and do a poly length. A poly length is a multiple length object that could be considered like conduit or pipe or ductwork. Anything that has a start and an end and it zigzags is a poly length. And I'm simply going to go over here and draw something like this, right? Boom. Let's go ahead and now customize this. I'm going to select it, right click, and go to Properties. You'll see that I right click on a lot of things and go to the properties because this is where I can control all of the visual information and the data behind it. Over here, I'm going to start by changing the subject over here to hot water. And the label is HW. Over here, let's go ahead and give it some unique properties. Like for example, I want it to stand out. I want it to be red. I also want it to go through and have a dash line. I don't care about all the individual segments lengths. I just want the total length. So over here, I'm going to turn off show segment values. There it is. In addition to that, I can go through and make this bold so it bolds that information. That's awesome. I can even go through and maybe make the font just a little bit smaller and maybe make this just a little bit lighter. All right. Now, I'm going to add this to my tool chest by right-clicking and adding that to the tool chest, double-clicking on it. So now I can use this over and over again. All right, so now with that information in mind, I've highlighted the information. Over here, hot water, right? Pro tip, over here under My Tools, I'm going to go through and use a shortcut key so I can easily start to go through and trace this. If you'll notice over here under My Tools, there's 1 through 8. You might not see it on my screen, but on yours, under My Tools, this is an area that you can use your shortcut keys on your keyboard to initiate any of this information. So what I'm going to do is temporarily left click and drag and place this right over here, and it's now number 1. You're number 1. Over here's hot water, number 1. So what does this mean is if I hit or press number 1 on my keyboard, I'm now drawing hot water. You see that without activating that. So now I can minimize this. I hope I'm blowing people away on this. I hope you're just like, okay. So over here, I'm using hot water as a label to help me identify where that is. I'm going to simply come over here and click number 1 to start my hot water. And I click here and I follow it down. Boom. I'm already in hot water. I'm already in hot water. So from here, I'm going to say this continues over here and goes to here and to here, and it follows all the way across. I'm just going to go from here and keep clicking. And let's say it stops right here and it goes to this point. Boom. When I select it, that particular object, when I look at it, is individual segments, and the total length is 238 feet. I want to continue with my calculations. So what I can do is, let's say for argument's sake, my hot water line from here is also in another area. Remember, I'm looking for the highlighted areas. And I think oh, there's another hot water, right? So it goes over here. So I type in number 1, and I'm going to tee off from here to here. Let's say for argument's sake that that also teed off from here to here, and here to here, and here to here, okay? Like branch runs. As I keep doing that, the total length right here shows me my total length of 322 feet. And just like before, I can select it over here, select them, right click, add a legend, create a new legend, and just like before, there's my total length of hot water. And as I start to go through and continue to do this, remember, using my hotkey number 1, it's going to go over here and tee off. And as I do that, it automatically updates that information. I'm telling you, this is next level. Misty, have you seen any of this before? I love just kind of going, this is great.
I have now. That's for
I
sure.
know, right? And by the way, folks, if you have questions, please put them into the chat or Q&A area. If we don't have time to get to them, put them in anyway, and I will get back in contact with you one-on-one. So you get to talk to me if you'd like. Last but not least, over here is, again, another one with more dynamic fill. This is going to be our last example. If I want to start to go through and look at using something like this dynamic fill, let's say I'm starting to go through and utilize, this 4-inch sidewalk, right? Or resurfacing asphalt. I'm going to do 4-inch sidewalk. I can start to go through and click on it and basically start to go through and do this and this. Oh my goodness, but there is just a lot of information. Now, one of the things that I can do is sidewalk is not paint, right? It has a volume. So we've done paint, which is a flat surface. We've done counts, but now let's do volume. Concrete is going to be in cubic yards. In this case, a 4-inch concrete. How much concrete do we need? Here's where I'm going to use the power of dynamic fill. To do that, I'm going to go over here to measure and enable dynamic fill. Now, I've already gone through and set the scale of this drawing, I think, right? No, it's at 1/8 of an inch. So that's not right. If I go over here and before I start to do my count, I look for a dimension. Here's 276. It's a good thing I checked. I'm going to run a quick dimension. So I'm going to go length, and I'm going to go from here to here. Oh, look at that. It is spot on. So even though it says 1/8, I calibrated this already, so this is good to go. So something to keep in mind, always run a dimension string before doing your calculations. All right, back to the asphalt. Over here, I have sidewalk that is as curvy as it gets, and I need to go through and calculate how much it is. Here's the caveat. When doing this, think of the concrete pour as having to have solid sides so it doesn't spill out. Just like you would do a regular concrete pour, you need some type of wood blocking, right? So we're going to do the same thing here. If you don't, there's solutions and workflows around that. But I'm going to type in J, which is the shortcut for dynamic fill. And over here, I'm going to do dynamic fill. One of the things I like to do, which I recommend, is slow it down. Over here, I'm going to go to its settings and you'll see the fill speed. Why? Think if you're pouring paint out of a 15-gallon bucket. You pour it really fast on something, it's going to splatter. If you slow it down, it's going to pour nice and slow so it doesn't make a mess. I like to pour slowly on dynamic fill so it doesn't jump over the line curbs, okay? So I'm going to go over here, minimize this, go back and do dynamic fill, left click and hold. And I'm just going to hold this right here until it fills in that information. Boom. And this is live. I'm going to let go and then move over here to this area and click. Whoops. Let me do a Control Z. Over here, I'm going to reduce my fill size, my paint brush basically, so I don't paint outside of the lines. And then what do I want to do? Over here, you can see I'm going to apply over here a volume. So what I'm going to do is go over here and do, oh, you know what I need to do? Let me hit close. It doesn't recognize that I've placed a volume yet. So let me go over here and place a volume. Okay, and I'm going to go through and 4-inch. Okay, delete. The reason why I did this is that way Revu knows it's there, and I'm going to go back. Let's go through dynamic fill again. And the reason why is if I were to have placed it, it's going to place it generically, and I want to work smarter, not have to go back and fill in that information. So I'm going to go over here and start to fill in this information. Left click, hold, boop, 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 and fill it. This is like painting by numbers for adults. And come over here and fill it. This green area is a placeholder. Then over here, I'm going to tell Bluebeam, what exactly do I want? I don't want paint. Over here, what I want is the asphalt. So I'm going to go over here and say that is 4-inch sidewalk. And I'm going to click apply and close. And there it is right here. So it's 130 cubic yards. Now you might say, but Rick, what if we have a cutout, right? And over here is a tree or whatever it might be. There's planting. So I'm going to go over here to Tools, Measure, and do a cutout. And I'm going to say, let's say for argument's sake, this area is a cutout for trees, right? So now it's 125 cubic yards of information. And if you needed to, you can go over here to the properties, take a look at the information, go to measurements, and let's say it's not 4 inches, but they come back and say, you know what, we are going to do a 3-inch sidewalk, and I'm going to change that to 3 inches. And when I do that, it now changes to 93 cubic yards. That's going to save me a lot of concrete. Concrete's kind of expensive, so if I can get away with 3 inches, more the merrier. Just hope it doesn't crack. All right. So that's what I wanted to share with you all. I hope you enjoyed it, and just, you know, get out there, try it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us here at Graitec, Rick Kramer, and I hope you enjoyed today's session on everything on counting 1 to 10.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rick. You're amazing. Guys, if you think of any questions after the webinar, you can email them to webinars@graitec.com. I'm going to put that in the chat box. What you've got on the screen there for you is something people have been asking me for, and so I'm delivering it to you guys. This is a one-click button for you to register for all Bluebeam webinars automatically, so you never miss anything. You don't have to constantly fill them out. all of those things.
Wow.
Finally got it done for you guys. You fill in your information one time, you're automatically signed up. So it's there, it's launched. I also threw that in the chat box as well. So thank you all for joining us today, and I hope that we see you on future webinars.
Bye, everyone. Have a great week.